We gotta stop it! It's gonna kill them all!
In 1988, legendary special effects artist Stan Winston released Pumpkinhead, introducing us to a bright mountain backwoods setting that also serves as a dark and gothic backdrop for a unique and epically depicted monster. Starring Lance Henrikson as Ed Harley, Buck Flower as Mr. Wallace, Florence Schauffler as Haggis, and a troupe of B-movie bikers that serve as meat for the beast that is Pumpkinhead. Inspired by the epic poem of the same name by Ed Justin, the De Laurentiis Entertainment Group gave Stan the script, expecting him to do the effects. But Winston saw an opportunity to make his directorial debut. Stan Winston then gave artists Alec Gillis, Shane Mahan, John Rosengrant, and Tom Woodruff Jr., the last of whom wore the Pumpkinhead suit, an almost free rein to create the beast. Before we dive into the terrors of the Pumpkinhead, please hit that like and subscribe, and ring the bell. It is the only way I can grow. And without any further ado, I introduce you to the dark and well-developed world of Pumpkinhead. Plot. In 1957, a young Ed Harley witnesses Pumpkinhead brutally murder a man, seemingly in an act of vengeful justice. We skip ahead to 1988, where Ed runs a small country store. He leaves his son Billy behind while running errands, and a group of B-movie dirt bikers not only invade the quality of the film, but also manage to accidentally run over his son. The bikers then flee, while one stays with Harley's son. But Joel, who has a previous running someone over charge, takes over and keeps them from calling or seeking aid in any way. When his son dies, Harley seeks out the old witch, Haggis. He then asks her to bring about justice and vengeance through the dark entity, Pumpkinhead. Ed is tasked with digging up Pumpkinhead from the Razorback Hollow graveyard. When Harley brings her the corpse of the Pumpkinhead, she goes full demonic ritual on him, using he and his son's blood and seemingly merging Harley and the Pumpkinhead, and raising the beast from the dead. Pumpkinhead then goes on a path of brutal violence, killing every biker and every person that gets in his way, regardless of actual guilt. With each death, Harley experiences the violence through Pumpkinhead's eyes. Harley has a change of heart and attempts to call off the Pumpkinhead, and turns violent vigilante against the beast when he learns the witch cannot stop what is started.
Nothing can call it off, but I'm gonna send it back to wherever hell it come from.
In battle with the beast, he learns he cannot hurt the entity, but that in their connections, he can hurt himself, which causes the Pumpkinhead to receive damage. In light of his epiphany, he attempts to kill himself to save the remaining bikers. When he fails, Tracy finishes the job. In the epilogue, the old witch buries Harley's now Pumpkinhead-like corpse in the old Razorback Hollow, where he has become the new, albeit inactive, Pumpkinhead. Cast, characters, and acting. The cast of Pumpkinhead for the genre is exceptional, and is also a mixed bag. On one end, Lance Henrikson effectively leads very well. His accent, his timing, and his anger and emotions are done to a near perfection.
Goddamn you, goddamn you!
He already has, son.
Florence Schauffler as Haggis, the witch, is quite horrific. She effectively pulls off her lines, and her dynamic with Henrikson is especially powerful.
What did you think? It'd be easy, neat and clean and painless.
The redneck family is great, including bum and redneck character typecast Buck Flower, who pulls off his lines perfectly.
You get away from here. Get away from me and my kid.
Bunt Wallace is also performed very well by Brian Bremer,
Mr. Harley, it's Pumpkinhead, it's real.
although not in the same level as the previously mentioned three. In general, all of the Wallace children look great and fit the bill. Of mention, Mayim Bialik of Blossom and Big Bang Theory fame can be seen in the Pumpkinhead dance number. The bikers, however, are a mixed batch, some performing well, and others performing semi-weakly. It almost seems like the weaker they perform, the sooner they are killed, as if Pumpkinhead can smell the incompetence and systematically eradicated them from his universe, until the final two, who survive, are actually decent actors. Chris, portrayed by Jeff Easy, and Tracy, portrayed by Cynthia Bain. When thrown up against Lance Henrikson, Florence Schauffler, and Buck Flowers' grandness, the biker's performance in general feels weak, and it adds a B-movie feel to a film, which draws from a vast set of talented and qualified performers, and arguably, with a few different actors cast as bikers, could have come off as an entirely A+ level film. Kills. The kills are done quite well. They are not exceptionally gory or hard to watch. Pumpkinhead seems to enjoy dropping people from great heights, slams a girl through a window, and impales a man with a gun after pretending to be dead. The slaying of Ed Harley and Pumpkinhead itself is likely the best kill of the movie. Ed's eyes have gone demonic, and his face is turning Pumpkinheadish, while Pumpkinhead's face is more and more Ed Harley-ish. The practical effects look truly masterful. Whilst moving to engage the Pumpkinhead, Ed accidentally stabs himself with a rake, revealing the twist that the two are connected. And when Ed is hurt, the Pumpkinhead receives damage. Ed then shoots himself in the head, trying to slay the Pumpkinhead. This fails, and Tracy finishes him off. Both Ed and the Pumpkinhead are slain. The Pumpkinhead then catches fire and seemingly burns away. The monster and his world. Legendary effects artist Stan Winston, whose library of work is truly epic, receiving Oscars for his special effects in Aliens, Terminator 2, and the original Jurassic Park, brings us a beautiful, dark, and well-fleshed-out back mountain world, and a truly original and horrific monster. The graveyard in the Razorback Hollow deserves an applause for its visuals, and the witch deserves a round of applause for her depictions as well. The Pumpkinhead itself, of course, is grand, and as it rises from death, to its violent bloodbath of destruction, to its eventual melding with Ed and death, to its reburial in the ground as the new Ed Harley Pumpkinhead, it always looks amazing. Whilst not performing exceptionally at the box office, this film has grown with time to adopt a cult following, and this is due to the performance of Lance Henrikson, Buck Flower, and Florence Schauffler, the well-fleshed-out world, and of course the epically depicted Pumpkinhead. Winston gave special effects artists Alec Gillis, Shane Mahan, John Rosengrant, and Tom Woodruff Jr. an almost free rein to create the epic entity. They would collaborate and then bring their work to Winston, who would add his takes, eventually melding their ideas into what became the Pumpkinhead. Winston's experience with special effects allowed him to masterfully minimalize the budget when creating the beast, whilst maximizing its effect. The overall execution of the film is done quite well, with jabs at some of the acting being slightly weak, and some of the pacing being slightly slow. When reviewed under horror standards, and set against other films of the genre, Pumpkinhead performs quite well to this day, and I would most definitely recommend it to any fan that has missed it or has not seen it in many years. The entity is original, masterfully created, and stands as a rarity at a time when most monsters were slashers, and if not, were not given nearly as much detail and attention as Stan Winston's Pumpkinhead. Thank you so much. Please hit that like and subscribe, and ring the bell. It is the only way I can grow. I have new videos coming out all the time, and if you found this interesting, you will most likely like those as well. And until then, keep sleepwalking, my friends.